Hello again, everybody. So I am here for part 2 of my 3-month post-op VSG question and answer video. Quite a mouthful there. So today's video is going to go into fitness and food questions, questions about non-scale victories or NSVs, relationships, and then I have sort of a miscellaneous post-op life section as well. So I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, the fitness and food is the biggest category, and really it's just the food category, and I threw in like the 3 fitness related questions I got just to round it out, but this was like by far the category where I had the most questions, which I get it because we all love food, don't we? Clearly, that's how we got here. So, what fitness goals do I have? I don't know. No, that's a lie. I do have fitness-related goals. I'd like to eventually work up to getting 10K steps a day and have that be kind of something that I'm regularly able to achieve and that I make time for. I want to be someone who works out and exercises regularly at least 3 times a week, maybe even more. I'd love to be someone who enjoys and looks forward to exercise. I feel like I'm already sort of becoming someone like that, but yeah, we'll see. I'd like to be someone that people think of as fit. I'd like to be strong. I'd like to be able to lift heavy. Yeah, I'd like to become more proficient with like weightlifting is another one. Regarding exercise, what are my favorite exercise routines? I don't know that I've done a lot of different things to really qualify like I have a favorite. What I'm doing now is that I go to the gym. I do like a 2.5 minute warm up, or 2 to 5 minute warm up on like a Stairmaster type thing, and then I usually go lift weights. Right now I'm doing I don't do any splits, so I just do the same routine every time I go. I do bent over barbell row, barbell bench press, goblet squats, and then I do the hip adductor, the little machine. I'm meeting with a personal trainer soon to kind of go over and refine my strength training routine. And then after that, I work out for about 35 minutes on the elliptical. So that's been working for me so far. I've been enjoying that. As I work out more and try new things, I'm sure I'll develop new favorites. After significant weight loss, what would you be surprised that you enjoy fitness-wise? Anything? I am not a big exerciser. I think maybe the biggest thing that I would love to really get into, and that right now I'm not at all into, is running. I'd love to be able to run. I have like a teensy little goal of being able to do like a half marathon or something like, or marathon. So that's something that I would really like to get into. I think that I'm doing a lot of elliptical work and trying to do cardio. I think I'm still a little bit too heavy to do too much high impact running. I think it wouldn't be good for my joints, my knees, etc. So running is something that I plan to try to get more into as I lose a little bit more weight. All right, food. Since you've started this process, what would you say are some of your biggest cravings? I crave crunchy stuff a lot, and I don't know that I would have thought that was something that I necessarily craved a bunch pre-op. But I do pork rinds. God, I just love me some pork rinds, and I never had a pork rind before surgery, so it was not something I ever craved. Yeah, I will say that I don't feel like I crave sweet things as much as I did before surgery. How did you know you were ready to move to normal food? My surgeon told me I was ready to move to normal food. I followed my surgeon's eating plan exactly, and for them, it was 2 weeks of full liquids, 3 weeks of soft foods, and then you could move on to normal foods, then you can kind of eat whatever you wanted. They have lists of like recommendations, etc. So that's how I knew I was ready. And I was totally fine to do so at that time. What did you find most helpful during your pureed stage? I did not have a pureed stage. I know a lot of surgeons have those as part of their post-op diet. My surgeon did not require a puree stage at all, but I would say tuna salads, chicken salads, stews, like a beef stew would be good. Yeah, there are a lot of recipes out there for purees. I really recommend, I mentioned The World According to Eggface. Her blog's linked below. She's a ton of great recipes, including recipes specifically for pureed stage. A lot of people love the ricotta bake. I don't like tomato sauce, so I didn't make that. What is your favorite bariatric friendly food that you find yourself eating fairly often? I got a lot of questions about this as if I have one favorite food. And guys, I like food and I like variety. And I know there's like a lot of research, et cetera, about how you can be successful by eating the same thing over and over again. And that is going to have to be successful for someone else. Bariatric friendly food, like I said, I like pork rinds. Just because like when you want like a crunch, they're great and they have a good amount of protein for the amount of calories. And they've got no carbs. They're pretty excellent. Yeah, I'm going to say pork rinds. What is the best snack you eat? Again, I like all my snacks. I'm a big fan of jerky. I have been trying a lot of different ones to see my favorite. String cheese. I like cheese in general, though I've been trying to not eat too much of it because it is high calorie if you get the full fat, and let's face it, full fat is better. I'm trying to keep my calories low, so I like low fat string cheese, like Baby Bell. The Yoplait whips, the 100 Greek yogurt whips are amazing. Just kind of Greek yogurt in general. Wisps, Enlightened Bean Crisps, all of these are good things. Someone asked a question about the protein milkshake brand, and if it asked if it's any good. I thought it was pretty decent. Some of the flavors I like more than others. I find that some of them have, for me, an aftertaste, like that fake sugar, the artificial sweetener aftertaste that some artificial sweeteners have. I find it has some of that, to the point of like being a little bit overwhelming, but not all of the flavors have that for me that I've tried. And it's not like inedible, and I know that aftertaste thing is highly variable from person to person. So they were a good consistency and they have a good range of flavors. Do you struggle with binging pre-op? If so, do you still struggle? No, binge eating was not something that I ever really struggled with. I would eat a lot of food, but as my surgeon said, I had a big old stomach, so it wasn't really binging. That's not something that I've really struggled with. Have you thought about doing cooking vlogs? You're always making yummy food, and I think it would be great if you did bariatric cooking vlogs. Thank you so much. I don't know that I would make like a cooking channel or something, just because I don't really do a lot of like freestyle cooking with my own recipes. I do a little bit of that. Mostly though, I work from a base recipe and then I kind of modify to my personal tastes. And so I don't know that I'd really want to put a lot of the effort into making a cooking vlog or whatever, but I do have a meal prep video where I do show me cooking some foods. I'll link that above. And I do plan to do more of those. It was really fun. It's just pretty time consuming to put all the clips together and speed them up and all that stuff. So I don't know when I'm going to do it again, but I do want to. It was fun. I'm wondering if it is difficult trying to make food not a priority in your life when it seems like a never-ending food prep and fitting all the macros in. If you're, I hate to break it to you, food is not going to, especially for this first year, food is going to continue to be a priority in your life. At least it's going to be for me. I think maybe just the way that you're thinking about it is not how I see it. I don't see it as food not being a priority. It is a priority. Nutrition is going to be a priority. It is so important to make sure that you are prepped for the week, that you have healthy alternative or healthy meals to go to, that you're going to hit all of your required nutritional macros with protein, etc. So food is definitely a priority still. In fact, I would say that I am more obsessed with food and nutrition right now than I have ever been in my entire life. Because you need to kind of be obsessed with food and what you're putting in your body to lose weight. That's just how it has to happen. So I think if you're thinking that you're going to get the surgery and then just not care about food anymore and just be able to live like a normal person, that's not the reality. Certainly not for the first year or so while you're losing. That maybe is something that could happen far down the line of maintenance. But even then, I think you're always going to have to kind of think about what you're eating. You are fat, and, you know, I'm always going to have the potential to return to this, right? This, my body knows how to get here. So food is always going to be something that I'm thinking about. So yeah, I mean, that's just something that's part of my life. That's something that was part of the change that I accepted when I got the surgery. What is your favorite post VSG recipe? I don't have a singular favorite recipe. Again, I really like to cook a bunch of different things. I should have thought more about what I was going to say for this, because I've made a lot of yummy things, honestly. Someone asked, though, something similar. What's your favorite recipe that keeps you on point that you could serve to friends? I'll go ahead and link the crockpot bourbon chicken. I've talked about it on my Instagram before. I think I maybe even mentioned it here. It's really yummy. It calls for brown sugar. You can make it with like a brown sugar substitute and it still tastes good. I personally just added the brown sugar. It was divided over a bunch of servings for me, so it didn't jack the carbs too unnecessarily high, but it's really fast, really easy, and it doesn't taste like a diet low carb, like food. So good on lettuce wraps, good with some, I just ate it plain. But that one's really good. What's your go-to for getting your protein in? I have a protein shake every morning in my coffee, generally Premier Protein, because it's 30 grams of protein for only 160 calories. You can't beat that ratio. So that is really, right now, I need some kind of protein shake every day to hit my protein goals. And then I always make sure that my meals have, are protein forward. A really easy one, if you just don't want to think too much about it, are ham and cheese roll-ups. I love those. Or not necessarily ham, meat and cheese roll-ups. Ham, turkey, whatever kind of sliced deli meat you want. And you can use a sliced cheese. You can use a Laughing Cow wedge. You can use a string cheese. But, just mixing some meat and cheese. They're really good. They're really filling. And they're high protein and generally low carb. Do you track your food every day? I do indeed. I think food tracking is super important and critical to helping you hit your goals, particularly while you're trying to lose weight. You just don't realize how much you don't know about what you're eating until you start tracking and realize the amounts. And it's really easy to fool yourself into thinking you're eating less than you are if you're not tracking. So I really highly recommend it. I track on my FitnessPal. I use the paid version. You don't have to. It's free, and it's pretty much just as good. The link to my profile is in the description box below if you want to add me. And my diary is open. How did you get your protein in during the full liquid diet? I drank a lot of protein shakes. Premier Protein, Syntrax, Syntrax Nectar Sweets Chocolate Truffle is like my favorite protein powder. I had the Undri chicken soup. I had some egg drop soup when I wanted something that felt a little bit normal. I made protein pudding. I had Greek yogurt. Actually, I made a video on the liquid diet and my post-op. And you could use it pre-op, I think, as well. And so I'll actually link the video above, and you can see all of the things that I use that help me stay successful on the liquid diet. Have you had any problems yet where you've wanted to eat like you did in the past? Yes. I mean, I guess there's two ways to think about this when you say how you used to eat. I think of that both in terms of like the types of food I used to eat and the volume of food that I used to eat. And I'd say yes to both. There have definitely been times where I both wanted to eat more and wanted to eat volume. And in those cases, physically I can't. And so that was more of like a mental struggle. And then there are times when I wanted to eat like the actual shitty, high carb, high fat, bready deliciousness that I used to eat. And that is something I can't, I can't eat just in smaller amounts. That doesn't completely go away. It didn't for me. And I just don't keep foods like that around in the house. I make sure that I meal prep ahead of time, that I plan out my food, I plan out my meals, my snacks, etc. for the day. I have all that stuff on hand and with me. And if I'm going out somewhere, I look at the menu beforehand. I plan out what I'm going to eat. But yeah, that struggle is still there. How do you fit snacks into your day? I eat 5 meals a day. I call them snacks, but really it's more like a mini meal. I think Chemistry Queenie talked about the psychology of using mini meal. I still use the word snack, because that's how we sort of think of them, but they really are a mini meal. They're not quite as robust as like my lunch and my dinner, for example, but it is a planned meal in which I need, that I need to eat both for I'm physically hungry. My surgeon recommended that I eat every 2 to 3 hours, and it helps me. I'm not able to get my protein in if I don't have that 5th meal, unless I were to drink another protein shake in the day, which I don't want to do. So that's how I fit them in. I have my breakfast is my protein coffee that I drink in the morning. I usually start that around 9-ish. And then I have lunch around noon. So that's like my first food. And then I usually have my snack between 2 and 3:30. And then I usually eat dinner around 5-ish, 5 to 6. And then I usually have a dessert snack, like 7 to 8. So, if you're interested in seeing more about how I eat, there I have, what I eat in a day videos. I'll link one of them above. And that will give you an idea of kind of how I eat and how I structure my meals. But when I say snacks, like these are planned mini meals, in which I am getting some of my necessary macronutrients in. And then, that was the last question for that. All right, NSVs. I got a few questions. I got a lot of the same question, which is, what is your favorite NSV so far? I got a lot of variations on that. And that's so hard to answer. I've definitely experienced NSVs, but not any like crazy big ones. And of course, now that I'm like trying to think of specific ones, I can't. Okay, you know what? No. I would say my favorite one that I've had so far is that I was able to work. I was in a meeting and there weren't enough seats at the table, so I was just sitting in a chair along the edge of the room, and I had my laptop on my lap, and it was like flat and even instead of like totally tilted, and I was able to actually like comfortably type on it instead of having to like put my feet up on my tiptoes and like sort of hunch weirdly in order to get the bottom level. And any of you big girls or big guys that have tried to work on a laptop on your lap, I think you know the struggle that I'm talking about. And it's definitely not perfect. It was definitely not as like seamless as those like skinny little people who are just typing away on their laptops, but it was really nice. Because before I would purposely try to get to meetings early so that I could sit at a table, because it wasn't functionally possible for me to work on my laptop on my actual lap. Let's see, what is one thing that you are most looking forward to doing when you reach your goal weight? I am really looking forward to be able to go into just really any store and being able to buy something if I need to, some clothing that fits. I remember a few years ago I went to visit my friend a few hours away. I wasn't planning on staying the night, but then something happened and she really needed someone to stay with her. And so I did, and I didn't have anything with me. So we just popped into the mall, and it was like, I had to think about, okay, well, what are the stores here that sell plus size clothing? And I just needed like something to sleep in, basically, like shirts and a pair of pants. And I ended up having to spend like a ton of money because, of course, fat people clothing is expensive, and we had to go to a lot of places, and it was just like kind of a nightmare when I should have been able to go to Old Navy and like buy a pair of cheap leggings for like $5. So I'm really looking forward to that, especially because I like to travel, and outside of the US, finding plus size clothing is a little bit different. How has the weight loss affected your confidence so far? Any revelations? I think I've talked about this in a past video. It's definitely I definitely feel like more confident in the way that I look. But I also think it's just sort of like brought out or just emphasized the fact that like I actually have been pretty confident for a while. Like I've always been really kind of a confident person, and yeah, but I do feel more confident. I just feel happier with my appearance, and I feel more put together and professional, and just pretty, like I feel nice. I take the time more to do things like this beautiful makeup. Hopefully you guys think it's beautiful. I never wear fake lashes, and so I was experimenting with these today, and it's crazy. It looks nice, but I never wear them. But like when I think Chemistry Queenie in one of her videos mentioned this too. Like you can tell when she feels good because she looks good, and I think that's the same for me. And I feel like I've been putting in a lot of effort lately on how I look because I just feel good. So yeah. Someone asked if I changed my hair or my makeup or something, and no, I'm just losing weight so I look a lot nicer. And I mean, I am doing my makeup more, but I was always, with a few exceptions, I did try to kind of put in some effort with my videos, because they're videos, so I do try to look nicer than maybe I do in my normal life, maybe. But I really think the main difference is that I'm losing weight, and that you can really see it in my face. What moment / accomplishment are you the most proud of in the past year? Weight loss or otherwise? I would say, really in the past year, I'm the most proud of getting the surgery, starting this process. Oh my goodness, sorry, there's something sticking to my foot. So, nearly exactly a year ago is when I had my weight loss surgery seminar. And I'm just really proud of myself for taking this step. I remember, doing the seminar, so I thought about having the surgery, and then I just like binged everything I could about it for weeks and weeks. And then I was like, this is what I want to do. And I did the seminar, and then it felt like it was just never going to come. I had to do 6 months of medically supervised and all these other hoops to jump through. And I am actually very grateful for that time. I do think that it was helpful in helping me come to terms with really the changes that I needed to make, that I am making. But I'm really proud of myself for finally thinking critically about like, this is an option, and really doing a lot of intense research. I felt very prepared for this surgery. And it's still kind of surreal to think that it's happened, that I got the surgery, that I went through with it. This thing that I was dreaming of for months and months, and that I was preparing for, is a reality. And I'm losing weight for the first, really losing weight for the first time in years, and it feels good. And let's see, what can you do now that you couldn't do prior to surgery? I don't know that there's anything so far that I physically can do now that I couldn't before surgery. I do feel a little bit more flexible. I have noticed that walking is a bit easier than it used to be. Seattle is a very hilly city. There's lots of hills everywhere. And I work kind of at the top of a hill, and then I have to go out and I work on Jesus H. Christ. I have to go out and walk to a lot of places. I work on a campus. And I was walking back from one of my meetings the other day, and it's like a 10-minute walk uphill. And I was walking with someone and we were talking the whole time and we were walking at a good clip, and I just realized that it was a lot easier to do that than it had been 6 months ago. And it wasn't like it bowled me over, you know, like it was like so obvious, but I was like, you know, I was able to walk at a pretty steady, you know, fast pace up this hill while maintaining a conversation, and I didn't feel out of breath and sweaty and gross. And that was kind of cool. I hadn't realized that that was a change that had happened. And I have noticed that now that I pay more attention, like walking around outside in the hills and stuff that I do for just my daily life is a lot easier. Okay, relationships. The first question is, 3 months in, how is your sister feeling about your changes? Is she seeing your progress and maybe now considering either trying to change her eating habits or even considering weight loss surgery? So that is a great question. My sister is definitely seeing my changes. So she's the one who takes my progress photos every month and my measurements. She has been really supportive and really appreciative. She makes, you know, a lot of positive comments. She can, you know, she tells me that when she can see the differences in my face, and she's the one I send like different, comparison photos to. And I'm like, okay, which one's better for me to post to Instagram? So she's definitely been like one of my biggest supporters, I would say. And I've definitely mentioned before that, I've been worried about just how this will affect our relationship. So far, I think it's been fine. I also think that I have not yet lost enough weight for it to be super an issue, because I'm still very much large, and I think I'm not smaller than her yet. So there's also that just to consider. She does want to change her eating habits. I mean, I've gotten her to cut out soda, like full sugar soda. So she switched to diet, which I'm really proud of her for. She's been reducing her juice intake as well. She still does have orange juice and stuff on occasion, and I'm not trying to demonize fruit. So she started taking vitamins. I got her to take vitamins, so I'm excited about that. And she definitely wants to make changes, but I don't know that she's mentally in a place for that yet. And she isn't mentally in a place where she's like willing to put in the effort that is necessary. You know, like she doesn't want to do meal prep. She doesn't really like healthy foods. I don't know that she's thinking about considering the surgery, at least not yet. And you know, that's something we'll see as I like get farther on and I lose more weight. But I definitely think it's been better so far than I was worried about. But I also think that kind of we're not far enough in yet for the possibly negative side effects to come. But I don't know if I answered that well. Second question, have you begun to get extra attention and compliments following weight loss surgery? I've definitely gotten like positive compliments from like people that I work with. A few people have, you know, said, oh wow, you look really great. Like, have you lost weight? Like, is it something that you're working on? So I've definitely gotten like some compliments as far as like attention of the interested variety. I haven't really noticed that much. I don't know if I am or not. I have not been in a lot of situations in which I would necessarily like solicit that kind of attention. You know, like I've mostly been like at work, you know, so I don't know that I haven't really gone out and not even like I haven't gone a lot to like restaurants or coffee shops that much, you know, so it's not, and it's also not something that I've ever really paid too much attention to, but I'm still, like I said, still pretty, large. The other question is, have you started dating after weight loss surgery? I have not. I don't intend to start dating anytime soon. It's not high on my priority list. I've got enough stressful shit in my life without trying to maintain a relationship. I honestly just don't have time for it. And I know that sounds like such a lame excuse, but like legitimately, I have other things going on in my life, work, other communities, other like interests, and then making these videos, but you know, like trying to prioritize going out to the gym, working out, meal prepping, making sure I have food on me, and just like the stress that I know would come from like trying to start a relationship, and you know, you go out to eat and then like you talk about like the surgery and stuff, and I'm still like losing a lot of weight. Like that's not something I feel like dealing with, to be perfectly frank. And relationships are not high on my list of priorities of like things that'll make me happy. I've mentioned before, I think I kind of want to do like a sexuality video, just kind of talking about all of that kind of stuff and how my weight has impacted it and not, and whatever. I'm actually talking about it in therapy a lot recently, so I'm sort of still processing some of that stuff, but that I'll definitely, when I make that video, I do plan to make it, but it probably won't be for a while. I'm sure I will talk about like dating and my plans for all of that, or my thoughts on it. Yeah. Okay. That's all for relationships. Okay, post-op life is sort of the miscellaneous catch-all for things that I didn't really fit in the other category. So, what has been the hardest thing for you during this process? Hardest thing. I think for me the hardest thing has been the emotional, mental component of not knowing if I'm doing this right and being just kind of constantly paralyzed by fear that I'm not doing what I should be doing, that my calories are too high or that they're too low, that my macro ratio is off and I should be having less carbs or less fat or more fat. Should I be starting strength training so soon? I want to have muscles. I want to maintain my muscle mass, but I know it's going to slow down my weight loss. And it's just like everyone does something differently, and it's just like I'm always thinking about the future and kind of like, what am I doing now that's going to fuck me over in the future? You know, like hindsight's 2020. What bad habits am I not tackling right now? So I think just the hardest part has been just dealing with that constant like fear that I did all of this and I'm not gonna lose as much weight as I want to, or I'm not taking the most advantage that I can. I'm not doing everything in my power, etc. That's been hard. It's been worse than I thought it was going to be, to be honest. Am I planning to go to any future weight loss surgery meetups? I really want to go to WLSFA in the beginning of June in San Antonio. And yeah, I really want to go to that. I don't know if the money / social situation type thing, like finding someone, etc., will work out, but that is something I'd really like to do. I don't know that I would ever, never say never. I don't know that I would really want to prioritize attending like a meetup that is just a meetup unless it was like very close to where I live. So like a lot of people do like the Vegas meetup or the New York meetup, and like a meetup for a meetup where I have to fly, that's not something I'm particularly interested in. I'll fly to like a conference or something where I'll hopefully meet up with a lot of people. And if there was a meetup in Seattle and maybe even one in like Portland where I could easily drive, I would definitely consider doing that. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that. How often do you track your measurements? Will you do a 3-month comparison of measurements? Okay, so you do not watch my videos, do you? I do track my measurements. I track them every month, and every month I do a monthly video comparing my measurements. So that actually went up on April 2nd. I'll go ahead and link the 3-month video up above. What was one thing or surprise that happened to you that you weren't prepared for? So like I've said before, I felt very prepared for the surgery. I feel like I did a lot of research, so that I don't know that there's been anything that like I wasn't prepared for. There have been things that like I knew about and I knew that I couldn't prepare for, I would just have to experience. So like some of the mindfuck stuff, I was like, okay, I'm going to experience this, but you can't prepare for that. Things like just dealing with your new anatomy, like I knew that was going to be a thing that I had to deal with, but you can't prepare for that until you're there. So that is something, just realizing how different being full feels. So I feel like I'm still trying to figure out, like, how do I know when I'm full? How do I know when I'm hungry? Trying to, like the issues when you take too big a gulp of water, just like kind of figuring all of that anatomy stuff out. I feel like I'm getting better at it, but it's still not 100%. So that, it wasn't a surprise, but it's something you really can't adequately prepare for. Another thing is, and this is just like a silly thing, and I've mentioned this before, no one ever really talked about how your body, like, feels different as you're losing weight. So, like, for me, it feels like my fat, I still have a lot of fat, it feels, like, less firm and less, like, stable. In my mind, I kind of imagine there, like, if you've seen that, infographic of, like, the whoosh, where it's like you have a fat cell and it's filled with fat, and then it's like replacing the fat with water, and then suddenly like the cell will collapse and all the water will go away, and that's how you get a big drop in your weight or whatever. I always kind of imagine it like that, like all of my cells are starting to like drain of fat and being filled with water or something. I just feel like squishier. And it's kind of weird and it's hard to describe, but like my body just feels less firm. So like I definitely still have fat, but like it just feels like less hard. It's not like my fat was like rock hard, but it was definitely firmer. I don't know. So someone asked, how am I feeling 3 months out? What has changed the most for me? I'm feeling great 3 months out. I'm feeling fan-frickin-tastic. What has changed the most? I've lost 45 pounds. I don't know. My way of eating has changed a lot, obviously. I'm more obsessed with eating, with food, with the scale than I ever have been. But it doesn't feel like a bad, scary kind of thing. It just feels like a necessary thing for me to be able to like hit my goals and achieve what I want to. I definitely eat out so much less than I used to, like almost not at all. I've eaten out a handful of times since surgery. We used to order food in, or usually we'd like get delivery like almost every single night. It was pretty bad for a while. So that's definitely been a big change, is just not eating out, really, consistently meal prepping, making time to go to the gym. That's been a huge change. Working out every weekend, every week, all sorts of changes. And then someone asked, I still worry this won't work. Do you ever have this worry? All the fucking time. I just talked about this actually in the first question, I think. So yeah, I am always worried about this surgery, that it won't work. And I don't know that there's any way to like escape that fear. I acknowledge that this is a mostly irrational fear, and that as long as that I continue to do all of the things that I have been told to do by my surgeon's office, that I know to be good for me, that I will not fail. But it is hard. That worry, I don't know that that's ever going to go away, but we can do it. All right, guys, that is all the questions I had. Hopefully I didn't miss any. I don't think I did. Thank you again so much to everybody who played along in my giveaway, who asked me a question. I love watching these videos. I like learning more about people. And it was a lot of fun to answer, try to think of answers. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I had a really fun time making it. I think I might do another one of these sometime in the distant future. But again, thank you all so very much for watching, for supporting me, for liking and commenting and subscribing, and just generally being wonderful human beings. I hope you guys have a beautiful, beautiful day, and I will talk to you when I talk to you. Bye, guys.